Tonight on Debate Amongst Friends, NBA trade deadline drama, as well as a new, brand spanking new buyout market. The Lake Show also with some drama of their own as the Lakers try to find their identity. All-Star Game weekend and so much more starting now.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is Debate Amongst Friends, and I am your advocate, your friend, the Professor John Gotti, and always by my side, my client, the reigning, defending, undisputed podcast beast that drops B-dorms on all your pissants. Doc Lesnar, how you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing pretty well, man. I'm doing pretty well. We're back live right here and we are ready to roll. I'm doing good, but how are you doing?
Woo! I feel so good, sir. I mean, I had a chance to visit DC and save it just for a little bit. It was real beta of it. But I and a group of specialized trained people went out there and neutralized.
Shall we say you were a beta analyzing ninja?
I was definitely a beta slash data analyzing ninja that can snipe anyone this side of the Mississippi. No.
But I think that's definitely something we'll touch on over the next couple of days. I know we talked about gaming amongst friends, Division Two, and that's definitely something we're going to jump back to. But I know tonight the NBA is calling our name as All-Star Weekend's coming up. The trade deadline just passed. The drama surrounding Anthony Davis and KP and so many other stars. Who's going where? Mike Conley, are you going? Are you staying? So many people. What did you think overall about the trade deadline?
It was actually quite enjoyable. Um, like I mentioned before in our previous video, I'm tired of always listening about, how can we make a LeBron James team better? Like,
Mm-hmm.
the overall consensus is, well, LeBron James is the best player in the world. Well, if he's the best player in the world, why does he need all these other superstars to play with him? And I've asked that question every single year this happened, and the only answer that I get is I'm just a hater because I don't like LeBron James. I'm looking at it based off of reality of if he's the best player, then he can guide his team to the promised land. Now, he's done that before by bringing this team to the finals, but I know, and that Doc over there, he knows too, and you know it too, Pissant. Everyone knows that the two times that he carried the team to the finals, they got destroyed.
Mm. Well, I will say this. I don't think the Lakers got any better in the trades that they did make. I thought they sent some key pieces over that could have been held for either future trades or even building blocks. And primarily, I'm talking about Ivica Zubac,
Yep.
who I think the Clippers got a steal for it. The Clippers actually might have got their future center, in this league, somebody that might be able to play with, the likes of, a Kawhi Leonard if they can actually squeeze him away from Toronto next year or this upcoming free agent period.
Yep.
But I mean, there were a few teams that got better, and in my opinion, of course, the Lakers weren't one of them. But I will say one team that ultimately just got really good is the Philadelphia 76ers.
76ers obtaining Tobias Harris. Oh my gosh. And that legendary big man. You know his name.
Oh God. But I
Hey,
don't think
look,
that's
look, look
the
on the bright side. He's no Ilgauskas.
he's not. I think when we saw, Boban initially, with the Spurs, and you're like, okay, Popovich did it again. He's squeezing the juice out of the international fruit. And I was like, okay, I figured he would keep him, but when he went to Detroit and he kind of fell off the side of the earth, and he wound up with the
Yeah, but
Clippers,
part of that was because of coaching, though.
of course. Of course. And I wished he would have stayed with San Antonio as well as the other player that the 76ers got, Jonathan
Mm-hmm.
Simmons.
Yep.
I thought that he should have stayed with the Spurs. It seems like the Spur way, I think it could be worth sacrificing money for.
Absolutely.
As you know, Tim Duncan did so many times. But I mean, ultimately picking up Tobias Harris and Jonathan Simmons,
Mm-hmm.
as well as a first and second round pick from the Magic.
Yes.
That I feel like the process just got stronger.
The, I mean, people laughed about the process. We had
It
memes
was
about it, and people just like, you know what? Forget this process. Forget all this other stuff. The GM needs to be fired. Like, you're now seeing it into fruition. Years of struggling has now have a great return of interest, ladies and gentlemen. We have a Eastern Conference finally.
hmm But to be honest with you, I felt that the process was laughable. I mean, it
I mean,
seemed like a train
don't
wreck.
you be robbing me. Don't you be
Oh,
robbing me.
wow. It seemed like a train wreck at the time because they had drafted.
Yes.
Remember, you think about it, they had drafted Jaleel Okafor, then they drafted Embiid, then they drafted Simmons. So it was like
Yep.
they're drafting these power
Nerlens
forwards.
Noel's.
Exactly, Noel. And then you finally draft Markel Fultz, and it's like, okay, where's this going?
Well, Ben Simmons
And
as
then,
well.
well, yes, I mentioned Ben Simmons, but because it's like you drafted like three or four forwards, and I know we were sitting there like, what the heck? But then Simmons sat out for a year, and Bede sat out for a year, and it was like, okay, so now it's starting to come together a little bit. They went out and got JJ Redick.
Yep.
Okay, it looks like it's getting a little better, not much better, but a little better.
Just a
And
smidge.
then you go out and you trade for Jimmy Butler.
Now, that was the turning point for the 76ers.
Right, and then you go out and trade for Tobias Harris and Jonathan Simmons, who, either one of those guys really could be your starter, but
Mm-hmm.
most likely both of those guys, depending on how they maneuver it, could potentially even come off the
They
bench.
had 5 players scoring 20 points against the Lakers on Sunday.
And I believe that. I believe that. I think that core, if they can keep Ben Simmons, Butler, Tobias Harris, and Embiid together, that's the whole process.
Yes. Uh, I feel like the 76ers can definitely do it, especially with those brand new draft picks that they gotten from Dallas. Um, but I mean, now we can't think about the future so much, which, I tried not to do because it's way too soon to talk about free agency.
hmm
And let's talk about the now. We're at the halfway point of the season. We got All Star Weekend coming up, but I mean, just now the season is at its midpoint. So clean slate for most teams. Other teams, they're still
hmm
just gonna bomb. I mean, let me get your thoughts about this, sir. Because those people out there, the people are screaming in Gotti's ear, asking me to ask him this question: Who is your mid-season MVP?
James Harden. I mean, uh, this is not favoritism. It's not anything like that. I mean, what he's doing and how he's doing it. I mean, it's pretty impressive. I mean, he's probably going to get potentially get the scoring title at this particular point if he continues to score and the volume that he's scoring, barring an injury. And there's days where he gets his triple doubles. I mean, it's not like we have a bad losing record. I know Russ is starting his triple double, storyline
Barrage
again.
again. Yeah.
Yeah, Giannis has some great games, but I mean, when we're looking at overall, I think you would have to give it to James Harden, in my opinion. And I think a lot of people, hate on James because of the amount of free throws he gets. People still think that he travels every play, and
Well,
it's
those
just,
are haters. Those are haters.
yeah, because like I listen to people all the time, and like the first thing they say, oh, who's the MVP? Oh, it should go to Paul George, and I'd be like, bro, like he
I'm glad
started,
that you mentioned that though, because Paul George is having a really strong
he,
season.
he is.
He's up there. He might be first team all defensive.
Hmm.
I mean, what's the issue with Paul George possibly getting that nod, sir?
I think the shot that I saw, which the figure that I saw was just based, they were just giving it to him based on his last 10 games, which I think his last 10 games, he might have scored like 30 something points per game in those 10 games. So that doesn't tell me that he should be MVP. That tells me that maybe Russ should take a step back because I think they won 9 out of 10 of those games. He
Without,
should focus on,
yeah,
focus on those particular triple doubles and trying not to score as many points and let Paul George, kind of help him out as much as he can.
I will
Um,
agree with that. Now, and I'm so
uh,
glad you used the sample size data when it comes to
mhm,
deciding who should be in this MVP race because I've heard from many of analysts, and you heard me talk about this on the podcast too. They
mhm.
were saying that Mr. LeBron James should be the front runner for MVP based
And
off
we
of
talked about this.
and they keep talking about the valuable part of MVP.
Well, we talked about this, and I mean, if you're going to go with that logic, then let's just stop and give it to James Harden right now.
I mean,
Because
you
I
can make the
mean,
same claim about most of these on this top 10 list.
I
I
mean,
said
you,
most, not all.
yeah, I mean, if that's the logic. Then you know, Dame Lillard should be on the list because they really need him in
Nikola
Portland.
Jokic should be on the list.
Jokic, exactly. It's a few people who should be on the list. Only four people I've seen is again Paul George, James Harden, Giannis, and somehow Steph Curry sneaks his way on there every year.
Which is interesting. But then when you look at the stats for him, it definitely tells a different story. But it
Yeah, I
always comes back
never.
to what I keep asking people, and they can't really give me a clear answer. What is the true criteria when it comes to MVP? Is it
I mean,
is it
to
the most
me,
valuable? Is it points? Is it impact on the game? Is it apparently leadership? Because that was another thing people were saying that LeBron James has the best leadership out of all the candidates, so he should be MVP. Like,
not
what
somebody
are
who sits at not somebody who sits at the edge of the bench
I
when their team
know?
needs them. So let's just stop right there. Um,
But I'm
it's
like,
more than just who's taking the last shot and things like that. I mean,
that's like, yeah,
again,
people were saying clutch factor as well too, but I'm like, we just started to measure clutch as a stat in the
right.
last, few years. So like, let's pump the brakes on that one. Now, and once again, I agree with your claim that James Harden should is the midseason MVP. I have my reservations, and I'm gonna say Giannis because of how dominant he has gotten
Of
better and
course,
better every single season.
of course, and just wait till they get Anthony Davis.
And I'm saying, like, if they somehow get Anthony Davis, I mean, yeah, like, I can't make that claim anymore because now they have Giannis and Anthony Davis terrorizing the East. Like, it's
Yeah,
now,
but
the Heatles 2.0, except it wasn't, collaboration on a frickin' banana boat.
right, which we don't know. I mean, we don't know. Giannis could
No,
be
no,
talking to
that,
Anthony Davis right
no.
now.
No, because if that's the case, then LeBron James should be fined, like, $500,000 or something like that because of, yeah.
Agreed. I understand what you're saying.
But what other
Um,
moves, though? I mean, I just wanted to ask you that because you mentioned
of
those key
course.
things. But like, what other moves during the trade deadline really caught your eye? And I know there was a couple of potential trades that probably could have happened that could have definitely benefited some teams, especially your team. In fact, I was there was a couple of them that was out there that didn't happen that you wish
Hmm.
happened. I mean, tell people about those.
I think the one, I mean, for the Rockets, I think we got Iman Shumpert, which, I think Shump gives us that defensive prowl that we really, really need. But it's okay. It's an okay deal. The thing that kept floating around for like the past 2 years, which I hated, is the whole idea of us just trading for Kent Bazemore, and I'm like,
Hmm.
why every Bleacher Report trade rumor had the Rockets trading for Kent Bazemore for the last 2 years, and I'm like, come on, there's got to be somebody else that we can
I,
trade for.
I have the answer, and it's gonna burn some bridges with our good fellas, at Bleacher Report. It's because they hate the Rockets.
Because I'm sitting there, and I'm like, why is it always Kent Bazemore? Like every single deal, Rockets trade this player for Kent Bazemore, that player for Kent Bazemore, and I'm just like, what the heck? Me personally, I wanted to see us make a splash. Like if we're going to trade these pieces, I wanted us to trade, and we could have got a Tobias Harris.
Yeah.
You know, we could have went out and tried to get Anthony Davis, or again, and I think I said this earlier or off the podcast, but we could have signed Ennis Cantor, from the buyout market to help with our rebounding reasons why we've been losing some of these games.
Hmm.
Um, but I think the other deal that really, kind of stuck out, some of them were pretty small, and I felt bad for the likes of Nick Stauskas and Wade Baldwin because I think they were traded
They
like
were
three
traded like
times.
2 or 3